Hello friends, welcome back to Dots of Destiny. It's been a long time. I was not able to make videos. So my voice was also down for a very long time. So anyway, I'm back with a video of the end of 2024 for all the ascendants. 2024 is coming to close very fast. And as Saturn goes direct, and as we know that again some kind of work related things will take priority, one has to understand that or all of the pending works that had been clustered up will start moving on. But here is planet that is three planets are conjuring up in trines to make some results felt, to give us some results, because planets do things and we have to go through the results. It is now Rahu, Mars and Mercury that is occupying the watery trikon, the moksha trikon actually. So and the difference about this transit is that all three will be in a retrograde position at one point of time. So as Mercury is currently transiting Scorpio, the mystical sign of Scorpio, it will get retrograde very soon and will become direct also by I think second week of December. I'll give the dates. Their Rahu is always running retrograde in Pisces, and that is also a moksha trikon. And it felt that it was not enough, that the Mars has also come debilitated in the sign of Cancer. So here is the moksha trikon getting activated by Mars, Rahu and Mercury, and Rahu is having an aspect on this Nicha Mars and also the Mercury transiting in Scorpio. Now what effect this will have? First and foremost is that whenever we talk about watery sign, some kind of emotions definitely comes to our mind, and here the emotions are related to ideas, the execution of ideas and how we are able to put it forward, because Mars is a very goal oriented planet and Mercury is the thinking process. Because see, Rahu is full of ideas in Pisces. Maybe the ideas sometimes can feel dreamy and far stretched, but it is there, no doubting about it, because Rahu plays its full part in Pisces. Mars is not at all comfortable in Cancer, but anyway, things will get executed in some or the other way. And Mercury is a very different Mercury. As Mercury is now currently transiting into Scorpio, you know that the Jalatattva of Scorpio, Mercury is not very comfortable as it goes debilitation in Pisces. Scorpio also, it is the 8th house. I'll not say it is bad in Scorpio, because I feel Mercury is a very adaptable planet. The adaptability of a person, because it's very flexible and it's very quick, that is seen from Mercury. And so when Mercury goes into the 8th house of Scorpio, it does relatively well. It is good for research oriented things, metaphysical, occult things, but the significance of Mercury, which is the intellect, works in a very different way. There is nothing bad or good as such about it, but the kind of Mercury we want, that is not exactly the kind of Mercury in Scorpio, because the intellect thinks more actually, and executions may happen late, and Mercury will also go retrograde also. That will also happen. So execution will need reprocessing again and again. You'll be thinking more about the especially the houses which Mercury rules, and also the intelligence works in that way in Scorpio. So that's a long transit for Mercury in Scorpio. Now, then we have Mars over here. As your brain or your intellect is working in such a manner which is not very usual Mercury type, or it's not a very sharp and very razor focused intelligence, it's a little deep dwelling thinking. Now, Mars over here in its debilitation in Cancer is very confused as how to execute that, because a soldier, as Mars is the kind of planet, the hot ball of fire, it is fast forward action and very fast and quick oriented action. Now in Cancer, it's an emotional warfare, because whether to take the step, whether to do the action, the sign is such, because emotions will start swirling up within yourself. It will feel that, okay, I'm doing it, but is it producing any result, or when the results will come? So the process of execution is not very sure, because here you are emotionally driven, and that actions that you take emotionally can be a little scattered all over the place. That is the problem with Mars in Cancer. It doesn't know that how to process the emotions properly, and such outbursts of your anger, your energy that has been pent up, all these things can happen with Mars in Cancer. Last but not the least, Rahu has been in Pisces for a long time now, year time, and we are quite now getting used to the Rahu in Pisces. Overseas opportunities is one of them. Opportunities for business from overseas, clients from overseas working over there, and Saturn and Rahu will be now changing signs very soon. So that is okay. Rahu in Pisces give a lot of ideas, lot of creative imaginations. I have felt that myself from the last 1 year. It's been no, I cannot say it's bad. And as Rahu came into Uttar Bhadrapada, it started working even in a steadier manner than in Revati. Now the thing is that because Rahu is aspecting this Mars and Mercury, the thought process is even getting a little bit more exaggerated. The emotions can get exaggerated. You just think of Rahu aspecting Mercury in the sign of Scorpio. It is a very intense thought process. The intelligence is also very intense. Now, what is the crux of the story? Okay, the dates are that 26th November, Mercury is becoming retro in Scorpio in the Jeshta Nakshatra. 26th November, and 16th December it goes direct. Mars is retro from 7th of December in Cancer, in Pushya, until 24th February it will only become direct, and by that time it will come into Gemini. So that's a long drawn process. I'll do a separate video of Mars retrograde in Cancer and Gemini. And December 27th, Saturn will go into Purva Bhadrapada. That will be a very different kind of energy, because still now Saturn is in Shatabhisha, and then it will go into Purva Bhadrapada, exactly the last phase of this year, the last 3 days of this year, it will enter into Purva Bhadrapada. And 28th November, Jupiter goes into into Rohini Nakshatra. So that is also because it entered Rohini, entered Mrigashira, became the retrograde, came back to Rohini. So now it goes to Rohini, then Mrigashira. Now Rahu continues in Uttar Bhadrapada till 16th March. I think that is better actually. Again, Rahu will enter Purva Bhadrapada with Saturn. That will be a collision of the titans. Rahu, Mars, both in the same nakshatra will be a very big transit to look out for, and especially the ascendants of Purva Bhadrapada, having moon in Purva Bhadrapada, who is having Saraswati or any planet, will take a very prominent position over there. So those are later things. Now this too retrograde is coming up actually, and Mercury immediately in November it goes retrograde, Mars a little later. But anyway, so we'll have a Moksha Trikon trine with 3 retrograde planets. So let us see how it affects each of the ascendants in whichever Trikon it is, and how it does put difference to our lives. Let's jump into that. Aries ascendant. Aries ascendant, Mercury, and this is happening because it is your moksha trikon. So it is happening in your 12th, 4th, and the 8th house. This thing is happening. This trines of Rahu, Mars, and Mercury. Now, see, Mars, your Lagna Lord, is debilitated in the 4th house, and you know that it will continue for a long time. At least till now, it will continue till 21st of January. Then it will move into Gemini. Again, it will come back to Cancer on 2nd of April. So the position of Mars is very uncanny, and it is not, we know it's not the typical Mars, and it's quite a challenging transit also. Now, the thing is that the 3rd lord and the 6th lord is in the 8th house. So the efforts and the things that you are doing in your regular day can go for a different, it can go for a transformation, because the Lagna lord itself is in a very confused state of existence at this point of time. You can be emotionally hurt, your health can take a toll, your decision makings can be clouded by Rahu, as Rahu is aspecting from the 12th house this Mercury. So it is not a good situation unless that you have Venus coming into from the 9th to the 10th house, then to the 11th house by the end of this year. Now, if you run Mars Mercury, Mars Rahu, Rahu Mars, these kind of combinations is in the governing position at this point of time in your horoscope, then you really need to think deep into whatever you're doing with your life. It's not easy decisions, because when the process of putting efforts is getting into a darker place, when your daily life activities is 6th house, your prarabdha going into this and Mars, Mars, the aspect of Mars in the 10th house is good, but it is aspecting your 7th house also, and some kind of difference of opinions with the partner can happen. Your health can bring some setbacks, some decision emotionally you may have to take, and you may have to do away with certain things of your life, because when planets are in the moksha trikon, some kind of sacrifice, emotional sacrifice can be triggered, because it is not only the moksha trikon, it is in your exact position of 12, 4 and 8th house, right? So this is the original Kalpush Kundali, and so I think it is a rough time for the Aries ascendant, barring the fact that there are few months of Saturn going into direct. So Saturn will go direct, but also it is aspecting your Lagna. So again and again, I'm telling health should be big priority. You may have to take certain decisions which you don't want to take. You feel emotionally at lost. I cannot emphasize more on the fact that I want to talk positive, but if the transits are such, I have to say the reality of the transit. And if you're especially running a Mars Mercury, which is itself a conflicting of ideas, because Mars is a very different planet and Mars Mercury does not go well. So when they are in moksha trikon, the houses that they rule, and Mercury is in Mars house, it can take some, even your enemies, the 6th house enemies, can turn for bitter also in Scorpio. Getting aspect of Rahu, they can be very, you may not be able to detect or diagnose them well, that what is their next actions or what will happen. So these things are happening because Jupiter is also retrograde. Otherwise, Jupiter was in a good situation in your 2nd house. Because see, again, there is a Jupiter Mercury aspecting each other. I'm putting up the horoscope over here on the screen. You'll be able to see what I'm talking about. So any kind of joint ventures if you're doing, because Venus will be in the 10th house, your partner may assert certain things. Because 8th house is also joint ventures, legacies, getting some property related matters, talking about that, filing some cases about that. If you're going through some 6th house matters, it can take a turn for some kind of bitterness. All these things are coming together, whoever is running what kind of a dasha, depending on that. So the takeaway is that this is not a easy transit you are navigating through. at the last point of the year. The closing of the year is not very easy, can be emotionally tiring, health wise it can feel low, it can feel directionless at time, and you can feel of quitting things, because that is how frustrated Mars feels when it is in a Jalatattva, getting debilitated and then retrograde also. So to take care, tread slowly, take time and think whatever you're thinking. The Mercury has been hijacked by Scorpio and Rahu aspect on that. Think slowly, let the process calm down. Astrology is meant for that we understand how the transits are behaving, and so that we change according to, or we navigate our way better through the intensity of the planets. So take care, Aries ascendants. Taurus ascendant, the transit of Mars is in the 3rd house, Mercury is in your 7th house, Rahu in the 11th house. This is a moksha trikon going into the kama trikon. Now, Taurus ascendants, this is, I cannot say it's a bad transit, because see, Mars in the 3rd house gives some startup, some kind of an effort that you are putting in, some kind, especially if you are running a Mars Antardasha, Dasha, Mercury colliding with Mars, Rahu, because see, obviously a big transit like Mars will give results, but if it is in the governing position of your horoscope at this point of time, the results are more profound. So that's why if you are putting some new ventures you have started, because Taurus has been whatever good and bad dasha antardasha, they are running some huge things, ups and downs in their life that I'm seeing, because obviously Saturn is in 10th, it was retrograde. It is 10th Saturn is it's very vindictive. It takes you to the path where it wants to take you. Rahu in the 11th is a supportive transit. Mars in the 3rd, going retrograde means you have to, because see, it is the 12th lord, and obviously it is the 7th lord also. So if you or your wife is going for, or your partner is having, 12th lord going into the 3rd, means some kind of a journey you have to take, or a decision you have to take again, because this Mars will go retrograde in the 3rd house. It can feel emotionally a little bit of setback. 3rd house is not bad, sign is Cancer. Mars gets Nicha over here. So I'll put up the chart, you understand what I'm trying to say. Rahu is aspecting this Mars from the 11th house. Whatever efforts you're putting, don't get clouded, and try to keep a focus, because your Lagna Lord is in good situation by the end of the year. From the 8th house, it is now in the 8th house, and then it is coming to the 9th house and the 10th house. So this situation of Venus is good. Your stability is maintained. There's no retrogression of Venus at this point of time. Saturn is going direct in the 10th house. Venus will make a conjunction with Saturn by the end of the year. So situation for you is not bad. Don't rush. If you're feeling that some kind of a pressure is mounting up, some kind of a decision you have to make, you are a little bit confused, and you want to, your decisions are more overwhelmed by emotions, then take a sit back. It can concern about your partner also, because partner is Mars over here in your horoscope. Mercury is there retrograde, so your partner can also contemplate, or you and your partner, if you are going for a business or joint venture or something like that, or change of job, or any decision can take a little bit of twist and turn, because retrogression, as you know, is meant for that. Nonetheless, it's not a bad transit. Keep your emotions under control. Venus is in good position by the end of it is now in 8th house. It will come into your 9th house. So I feel you'll make a better decision, a good judgment of this transit. You'll take it to your advantage, knowing that the planets are putting too much of desire into your heart, but go slowly. As the end of 2024, decisions can sometimes go haywire, and then you can feel emotional outburst or emotionally quite upset. Don't let that happen. Otherwise, it's a good transit. Gemini ascendant. For Gemini, this is your Mars is in your in your second house debilitated, then the Rahu is there in the 10th house, and Mercury, your Lagna Lord, is there in the 6th house. Now 6th house is a Scorpio house for you. Now understand that wherever Scorpio is for Gemini ascendant, because Gemini is a very swift sign also, their decision makings are also quite fast and a little bit at times quirky also. It's a little out of the box. The sign is like that. Now that's a 6th house having Scorpio sign and housing your Lagna Lord. The placement of Mercury in the 6th transit is not bad at all, because Mercury gets exalted in Virgo in the 6th house. Only that some kind of a change in decision, change in work environment, change of job, because understand that the 10th lord is in the 12th house, so you can lose a job or you have to change a job. Jupiter will decide that when it goes direct. Saturn is going direct slowly, and by December it is gearing up to come to your 10th house to make things start from the base. It will be a start from the scratch. There is no denying that. Saturn 10th in Pisces is a difficult journey. We'll talk about it later. It's not easy to deal with Saturn and Pisces in the 10th house. Now, whatever profession you are, your 6th house, you're giving it a second thought. I can see that, because your Lagna Lord, your 4th Lord is now both in the 6th house. If you have taken a loan, you're giving it a thought. Maybe you want to give it back a little bit. You're contemplating on that. Mars, your 11th lord, has come into the 2nd house. It's kind of a dhan yoga, but the thing is that Mars over here gets debilitated, the 11th lord. So if you are too much, emotionally thinking about your savings, that my savings are going down, or what to do with it, how to increase it, because Rahu is also aspecting this Mars, then I would say that wait for a while, think a little bit, and go with the flow. Try to do your best, but it may not happen immediately what you are asking for. As Mars is in Nicha, you can execute some action. Suppose second house decisions, money related, home related, you can have some emotional ups and downs at home. Mars will go retrograde also. Your Lagna Lord will also go retrograde in the 6th house. So is the Artha Trikon, with which you are getting emotionally attached, and you are too much focused emotionally towards the Artha Trikon. Now your status, your money, your work, your subordinates, your working area, all these things. Now, this is arriving for a change. Understand that, as Saturn is precisely going into your 10th house very soon next year. Change will happen. That is inevitable. How you deal with the change of your money, of your savings, of your home front, of your people around you, of your speech, because Mars in the 2nd house in debilitation, sudden speech, you can, a situation can go from, from 10 to 0. That is how Mars is when it's debilitated in the 2nd house. So very, very be careful about the things you eat and what you're talking with other people. It can suddenly give a blow to them. That sudden blow can affect your 6th house and 10th house both, because that is how Mars is in the, that's why it's debilitated in Cancer. Mars otherwise in the 2nd house is not bad. Monetary gains, savings, all these things, it pushes you towards that. Especially if you're running that kind of a dasha, then these changes will happen. You have to go with the change. And this Artha Trikon 2, 6, 10 is your main priority this year end. And so look at it carefully, what you can do about it, what changes you can bring. It'll ask for some kind of a reprocessing, as your Lagna Lord is going through Scorpio, looking back, retrograde, getting retrograde on 27th November, and Scorpio is a deep sign aspected by Rahu. So obviously some changes within you, your process of working is inevitable. It's a 60-40 transit, I would say, or 50-50. It's not good or bad. It's how you process the things, keep your calm, and then you will slowly, it will take some time. I won't assure you results very fast, because this condition of Mars is going for a long time. Rahu will be in Pisces for a long time till May month. Mercury will change your sign. Your thinking process, your intellect, your fourth house matters will change obviously, and you will take steps to do that. Okay, have a good day. Cancer, Mars is on the Lagnam and Rahu is in your ninth house and Mercury is in your fifth house. Mercury is not a good planet for you. The 12th lord and the 5th can give some disgrace, and you know this disgrace comes when Mars, your 10th lord, is on the Lagna. Mars is a very important planet. The 10th and 5th lord, the name, fame lord, the Prarabdha lord, the 10th lord is on the Lagna but Nicha. Now, the thing about Mars, see, when a Kendra Trikon Lord goes into the Kendra, it is, we call a Rajyog also. But the problem with this Nicha Mars is that when it becomes debilitated, the decisions, or now everything is regarding your career in your mind and your well-being, your name, fame, your, fifth house is also speculations. So these things are your priority. And sitting on the Lagna, it can force you to take actions, but as you're emotionally driven, you are a sign which everything is going with the emotions. It's a cold war that is happening within you now, because Mars is in Cancer. It is the hot ball of fire in water. What you'll get is steaming up. Steam's coming up, right? You are steaming maybe from within. The Mercury retrograde in the fifth house can make you think, your intellect, because see, because Scorpio is the fifth house for Cancer, the intellect for Cancer people works in a very different way. It's not a Aries sign. Scorpio is the eighth house. Their intellect, that's why Cancer ascendants are very different. And as far as I am concerned, I can very easily chalk out Cancer ascendants. Because they are that kind of people, and they go by the thing that yes, we are emotional. Our brain works in a deep emotional way. I mean, see, Scorpio is a very intense sign. Their emotions are intense, their thinking process, intellect. Now Mercury does not fare very well in Scorpio, your 12th lord. So be careful with how you deal with your children, because children can take up your time, can disturb you, can emotionally desettle you. These things can happen. Your name, fame can create an issue in your life at this point of time when Mars, your 10th lord, on the Lagna retrograde, Mercury retrograde, your 12th lord in the fifth house. So these things can happen. Now, another thing is that the Rahu being in the ninth house can force you to, push. Rahu's effect in the ninth house is that it makes you think that what you can do with your fortune so that you can lift it up, and in a different way, in a quirky way, because Rahu does not work straight. Now, why I'm talking about this arrangement so much is that because it is in the 159 axis, and because you can go and you will go through some emotional ups and downs in your 10th house matters or in your 5th house matters, because Mars is priority over here. You have to navigate it with your full intellect, being in the right place. Mercury goes retrograde. Rethink about things from 27th November. So rethink what you want to do, how you want to tread the path. Jupiter is placed good, then it will go to a 12th house. Jupiter will go direct, it will give you way. Saturn's position is in the 8th house, the last leg of Saturn in the 8th, then it's going to the 9th house. So Saturn will also, push you to shine your fortune. That is how Saturn works in the 9th house. It's not an easy placement. It is stop and go, stop and go. Saturn creates hurdles in the 9th house matters. It does, no denying that. Not a very easy time at all for you, no doubt about it. You have to find out ways how you can settle down yourself. First and foremost is that So that is the first thing you need to do. Settle yourself down, settle your emotions down. If you have to, read Hanuman Chalisa, if you're driving, you have to be very careful. You can face with sudden blows on your forehead or something like that. So please read Hanuman Chalisa, settle down your mind, your efforts, where you're putting your efforts, because Mercury, the third lord, is also retrograde, and you have to think these processes. May it can happen because Saturn is aspecting the second house of Leo, and Jupiter is also retrograde now. In the 11th house, the money flow may not be easy, your children may not be easy, your work area can have some emotional ups and downs, so your boss can behave in a very weird way, Rahu being there in the 9th house. What decision you take, you can have very, Mercury being in Scorpio, some decisions, you can have a different way of looking at things. That's not bad, but take all the pros and cons and then only go through it. It's not an easy transit for you. So take care, Cancerians. For Leo ascendants, Leo people are having this in the Moksha Trikon, because Mars is in the 4th lord and the 9th lord in the 12th house. It will go retrograde slowly. Mercury is in your 4th house and Rahu is in the 8th house. First and foremost, you have to take journeys to sort out your things at home, or your Bhagya Desha Lord is telling you to travel, and you have to, because Mercury is there in the 4th house, family can be a priority at this point of time. That's not a bad transit. Mercury does well in the 4th house, and it is, because Sun will also be there, your Lagna Lord. Yes, Lagna Lord getting into Scorpio, I don't feel it's a very good transit, because Sun loses Digbala totally in the 4th house, but it will be aspecting your 10th house. Mercury also will aspect 10th house. 10th lord is well placed in the 6th, and then in the Aquarius 7th house. Rahu is in the 8th house. Rahu is not bad in the 8th house. It can bring some transformation. If you are flexible, you will be able to go through the transformation. Think about that. I think certain transformations are very, very important, because if you have this this watery trikon, the Moksha Trikon, having three at least two malefics. Mercury is not malefic, but it behaves in a very strange way in Scorpio. It is telling you to change the decisions regarding your home. And Jupiter is retrograde in the 10th house, how you work. Your business things in the 7th house, Saturn will go direct. Your business earnings, the 8th house, can flow in from foreign lands, as Mars has also gone to the 12th house. So don't spend much. Losses, unnecessary losses can happen. While Mars is retrograde, you may have to go into a little bit of seclusion. Your heart can feel like that. You can feel a little lonely. Let's have that blissful solitude in your favor and work out, because I feel that this last 2 months of 2024 requires some solitariness in our life, in everybody's life, to process the things that are coming up. We all know there are flooded with videos in the YouTube that 2025 is going to be, a sinusoidal curve. So it's okay. Things happen, and cluster of planets come, amalgamation of planets happen, and then they give us result. We have to, life doesn't stop over there. What is the use of fear mongering? What I will say is that if you can process your emotions, because it is the 4th lord going into the 12th house, Rahu aspecting it, process your emotions in the correct way. Read Hanuman Chalisa every day. Go to Hanuman temple if required. Follow the Saturnic where Saturn is aspecting your Lagna. These process, if you do well, then you will be able to go through it. Not that the problems will get solved, but your home front, your 8th house matters, your legacies, your insurances, your things, your ideas, your money from clients, your 12th house matters of expenditure, foreign lands, all these things. Your Lagna Lord coming into the 4th house needs some rest also. Take a seat back. Last 2 months of the year, but Venus will be in the good position in the 6th, and the Venus, I mean, you'll get work is also generated being in the 6th and the 7th house. So these things will take priority. Take a seat back, do some solitary work, get into the process of Saturn slowly going into the 8th house. That is the ultimate story that is going to happen. And Saturn 8th house makes you a little run away from people. If you are not that type, if you're a gregarious personality, you'll face problem with Saturn in the 8th house. You have to lead a little bit simpler life, not too much people. Be to yourself and put in efforts with your research, development, your work, your think. It is like that kind of a transit. You cannot help it. So that is a process that is beginning by the end of the year. But you'll have a lot of business flow if you're a businessman, because Saturn is going direct now. By December, you'll start seeing the results. So it is a 50-50 transit for Leo. Not very good, I cannot say that. You have to deal with things because Mercury is your 2nd and 11th lord also going into the 4th house, right? So some kind of you can spend some money on your home also. Home life can be good with Sun, Mercury, Buddha-Ditta Yoga over there. You can have people coming at home. Your own family members, you can feel a bond with them, Sun being there with Mercury. So that way it is not bad. Think about your finances, think about your business, your daily work. Little bit you do things with yourself, not totally too much depending on other people, and that kind of a life is better when Mars is in the 12th house, your Bhagya Lord. Virgo people, Mars is there in your 11th house. So Mars being in the 11th house and the Rahu is there in your 7th house, and your Lagna Lord Mercury is now in the 3rd house of Scorpio. This is the Kama Trikon that is being activated. Rahu Ketu is there on your Lagna and 7th house, being already, it has started long time back, nearly 1 year, and few 6-7 months left for the transit. It has brought quite a transformation definitely in your life. Now when Mars going into the 11th house, you cannot depend too much on people, because that is going into debilitation. Your money earning capacity can increase. Your you'll put effort, because Mercury is sitting in the sign of Mars. You'll put in effort. Sun will also be there. So 12th Lord and the 12th Lord and the Lagna Lord in the 3rd house, you'll put in effort regarding different areas and which you had been thinking. Some efforts may not work out. As efforts result is given by Saturn and Mars. Saturn will go direct very fast. Mars will go into, if you're running a Mars Mercury, Mars Rahu phase, then you will feel a little bit of confusion in what you want, how to process your emotions. This whole trikon of Mercury, Mars, Rahu in the watery sign is all about processing our emotions. What really we want from the 11th house. That is your gains. You're thinking more. Wherever Mars goes, your energy will flow towards that. Now the thing is that 11th house having Mars and in its debilitation, you can look out for gains, but you cannot look out for too many people. You will have to cut people emotionally from your life. That is what Mars will do. How much you feel a pain. If you are running a Mars Mahadasha, you will go through this process. Mercury, if you are going through Mercury Dasha, Antardasha, you will put in effort, wholeheartedly you will put, but with some kind of a twist, because Mercury, your Lagna Lord, will go into a, in Scorpio, it is already there. It will go into retrogression from 27th November. This retrogression is a deep-rooted retrogression because it is in Scorpio, and change is inevitable in your personality, maybe in your neighborhood, in your way of doing things, in your way of communication. All these will change. You will rethink things. Definitely you'll do that, because Rahu is having an aspect on this Mercury and Mars. So 3rd, 7th, 11th, your desires, your fulfillment of desire, your long-term desires, if you have to process it, you have to be very emotionally sorted with what you are doing. Because Mercury's intelligence is very different in Scorpio. It is not the regular quirky Mercury with sharp, razor-sharp intelligence. It's not like that. It is a deep-rooted, very long-term planning, processing, changing. You have to change yourself. because you are going through a transformation, and a retrograde Mercury is adding to the cheshta bal. You have to put some effort, a lot of effort rather, to change your thought process, the way you put effort, the way you do things, it will be changed. Because Rahu Ketu, when it is on the 1st and the 7th, it brings a lot of transformation in transit, whether you're running a dasha or not, irrelevant of that. Saturn, the last phase of Saturn in the 6th house, you can work things out in the 6th house area, then it will come into the 7th house. That's a different chapter, we'll discuss about it. But here what I'm talking about is your this is your 8th lord coming into the 11th house. You can gain from properties, legacies, insurance, you can gain, but some kind of an emotional setback is also waiting from the groups around your expectations from the groups, your expectations from profit, all this. So don't get very, don't fidget with it. Let it be, let the process happen. It is bound to happen. It's a long transit, right? So you cannot do much about it. Mars will again come back into your 10th house in Gemini, then again it will go to the 11th. So it is your 10th, 11th thing. Mercury will move from the 3rd house slowly, and by the year end, it will come into Sagittarius, or no, in January it is coming into Sagittarius. So till the year end, it will be in Scorpio. So this process will continue till the year end. You're changing your decision pattern. Maybe your neighborhood can change. You can change into some place. Your groups can get cut off. You can get profit, but little bit subdued. So think about all this. Libra ascendants, the trikone of Mars, Mercury and Scorpio, this is happening in your, Mars is in your 10th house now, and Mercury is in your 2nd house, and Rahu is in the 6th house. So this 2, 6, 10 is the Artha trikone. Now, because it is the 7th lord going into the 10th house and it is debilitated over there, Mars becomes, actually Mars is strong in the 10th house. So obviously you will carry out your actions with some, business ventures, or with the foreign partners or associates in your official area or professional things. But obviously you'll feel emotionally low about it. Exactly, the feeling is such that though I want to do the thing, but the emotional quotient or the motivation is not very much, bright. It is in a subdued way, and Mars struggles in the way or the process of working in Cancer. That is the biggest problem. Here the 2nd, 10th and 6th is all your Artha trikone, your livelihood, how you are going through, because Rahu is putting challenges constantly in the 6th house. Rahu in the 6th is good, it's not bad, but it creates some kind of an uncanny situation which you not have envisaged. Or some kind of betrayal or some shadowy things with your subordinates, your loans, your Rogrin Shatru. Because Rahu does not work in a straight manner at any point of time. Now, when Rahu is aspecting your 10th and Mars has gone to the 10th house, it will go retrograde also over there. Then understand that your work, you'll work in a Marsian way, but that shine of Mars will be missing because it is in Cancer. And you feel quite an emotional upsurge or downsurge at any point of time. It is aspecting your Lagna. You can certainly outburst also. Prevent that from happening, because Mercury in the 2nd house is making you think about your finances. The Sun Mercury will be now in Scorpio, and Mercury will go retrograde over there also. So here you can think about your finances. It is your 12th lord. It can bring in some expenditures also in your life. So all these things are adding up to some pressure in the 2nd house. Some kind of work related changes can well happen at this point of time, because Saturn being in the 5th and then coming into the 6th house will give some added pressure in the 6th later in the next year. So these all things will happen in your life. You have to go with it, and you have to keep your emotions sorted. First and foremost is that your emotions cannot take the better of you, especially in the professional area. You can cry if you want to cry, if you have an emotional upsurge, because these things can happen. Some emotional fights can happen, but you need not make that take because it is the moksha trikon in your arthra. I'll give the horoscope over here. What is happening? 6th, 10th and 2nd house needs to be very much you have to deal it with in a practical way. But for Libra, it is the emotional trikon over here. So you get emotionally attached to your family, your money, your 2nd house matters, your job and your employees and all these things, because after all, Libra is the sign to keep a balance. Over here, it's the biggest challenge in the last 2 months of the year is to keep the balance going. You have to take it in that way, and slowly you have to move till the end of the year, and even in the next year coming, because the first 5 months of the next year is quite changing and a lot of things will change. So handle it in that way. Best of luck. Then coming to Scorpio people, your Lagna Lord, again Mars is getting debilitated in the 9th house. Again, it's the Dharma Trikon. Your Lagna is housing Sun and Mercury, and then you have a Rahu is there in the 5th house, transiting for long now, 1 year. So your process of thinking, because it's the 11th Lord, you're thinking about money, you're thinking about associates, you are emotionally changing your process of dealing with these things, which is good actually. But your Lagna Lord being in debilitation, the health of father can be a problem in the 9th house. With bosses, some things can flare up. Your Bhagyam, you can feel it is going ahead, but you can feel at emotional loss at certain point of time. That will happen, because Scorpio people, though it is a watery sign, they want to be very sure about things. That is how this Rashi works actually, and they go into very deep of matters. So Mars over here can give some emotionally low times with yourself, being yourself. Lagna Lord going into debilitation. Take care of your health also, as it goes in the 8th and 9th house. Take care of your relationship with father, bosses, elderly people, and if you want to visit Dharma Sthan and spiritual places, you can go if you get better emotional settlement there. As Rahu is aspecting the Lagna and the 9th house, your ideas can be lofty, Mercury being there. Mercury, the 11th Lord and the 8th Lord, sudden changes within you can happen. Mercury goes retrograde. These changes you have to implement in your way of thinking. It is the intellect. So overall, it is not a very bad transit, but you have to handle it in a certain way. And your health also should be taken care of in whichever form it is needed. And people can come, 11th Lord or 8th Lord, you can get gains, you can get people coming onto you, but your behavior or your way of dealing with people will change a bit, because Mercury is going retrograde also. If you're running a phase of Mars, Mercury or Rahu, you'll see the change is very evident in your personality. And there are certain changes happening. You are mixing, you're going with people, but understand Rahu aspecting the Lagna can sometimes not give you the direction between good and the bad. So think about it. Saturn is in the 4th house, aspecting your 10th house. So whatever decisions you are taking can affect your 10th house also. So put a watch on that. And these things, if you take a watch, how much emotionally, at times you'll feel low, at times you'll feel distracted, at times you'll feel lost in whatever direction you were going, because Mars, that is a problem with Mars in Cancer. It goes into an emotional sign. It is a cold war within, and sometimes the direction is lost or the implementation of the process is lost. So that you have to take, you have to watch it and then get better with this transit, because this transit is happening for a long time. You have to deal with it till May month near. So best of luck, Scorpions, for that. Sagittarius, Sagittarius, your Lagna is Lagna Lord in the 6th house. and your 5th lord Mars and 12th lord is going into the 8th house debilitated. Mercury is there in the 12th house and Rahu is there in the 4th house. Again, an moksha trikon getting activated totally in the sense of the word, because it is your 12th house, 4th house and 8th house. So you will have some big changes. That is, see, your health comes first over here. You can feel very dejected, rejected from different centers, or people can nitpick you at this point of time, because Saturn is now coming slowly towards your 4th house. Even your own family members can go against you. Here, if your in-laws are there, the 8th house matters can be very emotionally upsetting at times when Mars goes into the 8th house, and it is a Manglic position, right? So be careful of your health, your driving skills, your property, how you share, if you have to go for a sharing or any other emotional things happening in the 8th house. Don't keep it too much subdued. Suddenly you will burst out one day, because Mars is aspecting its sign of exaltation, that is the 2nd house. To keep a tab of your money, your name and fame, how people are dealing with you. Try to be a little, some people does always, it's not that everybody speaks exactly and rude. That's what not I'm trying to say. But if somebody provokes you, or if you feel very low, or if a name, fame, or your child behaves in a very different way, understand that the transit is such. You cannot give a knee-jerk reaction at this point of time. So it is not a good transit, not at all denying that, because Lagna Lord in the 6th, how is Jupiter going to help you with your health, name, fame, and all these things, your well-being? Your total well-being is quite challenged at this point of time. Let Jupiter come into your 7th house, aspect the Lagna. Saturn, Jupiter both will be aspecting the Lagna from the next year. You'll get a growth-oriented phase, no doubt about that. But at this point of time, every sector of your life, especially if you want to go into seclusion, remain a little, but you cannot go into seclusion because the 6th house will always call for it. So you have to work. You have to keep your brain quite, don't let the thinking process overtake you. Mercury Sun in the 12th house gives a lot of unwanted thinking process, totally unnecessary. The Mercury, as it is in the 12th house, gets debilitated. Here is in the sign of Scorpio. So you can understand the process of overthinking can capture your brain. If you're especially running Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Mercury or something, Jupiter aspect is there on the Mercury, but still it is the 12th house. Mercury behaves very, it is not at all comfortable. The mind is very upset at this point of time. The health can follow with that. So the last ending of the year is not at all a suitable time. If you're running a better dasha, then maybe things are not that bad. That can easily happen. Everybody is not going through a bad dasha, that's true. But here and there, the glimpses of this moksha trikon will definitely affect you, your well-being, your all these things, because Mars is a good planet for Sagittarius ascendants also. So do keep care. Keep a little, your brain settled. Try meditative techniques, or definitely every day read Hanuman Chalisa or go visit the Hanuman temple on Tuesday, Saturday, these things. Then at least if problem happens, you have the capacity to deal with it and keep yourself steady in such circumstances. Capricorn, for Capricorn ascendants, Mars is coming into the 7th house. It is again a Manglic position for Mars, and it is not at all wanted over here, especially in its debilitation. And it is the 3rd, 7th and 11th. Mercury can fetch some gains. If you're running some kind of Mercury Dasha, Antardasha, Pratantar, can give you money over here, because it is the 9th lord going into the 11th house. It's the 6th also. You can gain from court cases, and all these things can happen. but it is not especially if you're doing business kind of things are not and Mars is also going into the sixth house. It is sixth and seventh transit. Here the transit is like bringing opposition to your, because people will come and tell you things which is emotionally upsetting. Your partners can be quite rough in the way that emotionally they can hurt you. People can come and criticize you. You can get agitated with Mars full aspect on the Lagna. Saturn will go direct. Monetary things are not looking bad, but your well-being, your health, your third house matters, because Rahu will tell you to put effort, but where you're putting the effort, especially seventh house is in a very bad condition. Rahu aspecting seventh, Mars being there, it's no way good. So seventh house matters. If they are in a very bad condition, partnership, relationship, whatever, it can dissolve. If it is in that kind of a state, that can give you setbacks emotionally. So also the lower part of the body, Mars being in the seventh house, needs to be taken care of. If you're running some Moon, Mars, Saturn dasha or that kind of a thing. Mercury in the 11th house in Scorpio will change certain group relationships with the higher networking groups. That can go for a change, as Mercury will go retrograde. Mars will also go retrograde. So retrogression of a planet makes you think. Don't give knee-jerk reaction. Think about it and how to deal with it. The ending of the year this time is not very suitable, in the sense that it can give certain upheavals, and that is not wanted, because we know that Saturn is going for a challenging transit next year, and we have to keep ourselves quite settled. And purpose of astrology is that you knowingly that the planets are not in given good condition, you cannot go for a sudden decision, reactions which are not needed. Otherwise, it will keep you mentally low and physically also low. So that is how you have to navigate through this transit in the last 2 months of this year. Aquarius, Mars is there in the 6th house. So Mars in the 6th house, Saturn on the Lagna, Shadashtak with each other, and also Mercury being in Scorpio in the 10th house, and Rahu is there in the 2nd house. See, you will slog a lot. Mars in the 6th house keeps you busy on the toes and lot of work. Saturn is on the Lagna, going direct very soon. Sadashtak with Mars. So here the problem with Aquarius is that you will not get recognition. You can feel emotionally very low over here, because the 10th Lord has come into the 6th house. You have to struggle with other people out there for getting some goodwill out of it, first and foremost. Rahu is aspecting that Mercury and the Mars, which is especially 6th house is becoming a fiery place, the watery fire. So it's steam. You're burning from within. That's the thing. Saturn on the Lagna is putting pressure, no doubt. Only saving grace is the Venus over here, which is now in the 11th house, will go into the 12th house, which is not bad, then come on the Lagna. So Venus, your Yoga Karak, situation is not bad. Jupiter has gone retrograde, so now over here, Jupiterian, the money matters will need a lot of, contemplation, how to deal with it and all these things. Family matters can also creep up. Lot of issues. Second, the last 2 months of the year is quite emotionally turbulent in your Artha Trikon. That is your earning, your profession, and your daily work life. And keep tab on your health. Mars being on the 6th and Saturn being on the Lagna. Keep a disciplined life so that you do well. If you want to do exercise, do it. Because emotionally feeling low in the 6th house, where it is to deal with Rogrin Shatru, it's not a very good thing. You can feel some emotional slowdown within yourself. You can feel very stretched out, because Mars Saturn both in the 6th, when they transit, they make slog people a lot. So these things are not looking very good. The transit itself is a little bit emotionally, not little bit, quite a lot emotionally challenging. You have to go with the transit thinking that if this is how the planets are preparing themselves, and you are going through a lot of changes, Saturn being on the Lagna, it is inevitable. Now, how to deal with changes, I am not putting see, it's not fear mongering. I'm not doing that. I am not a negative person either at all. I want to say positive, but the thing is that this moksha trikon, which is your artha trikon now, is giving some kind of challenges which we have to deal with, as three retrograde planets, being Mercury going retrograde 27th and Mars going retrograde on 14th or 16th of December. So these retrogrades are 7th of December, I think. So these retrogrades are, and Rahu is already retrograde, is telling you to contemplate on your daily affairs, your 6th house, 10th house, monetary matters, house, family, all these things. You have to deal with, you have to go with it. Three planets together retrograde, Jupiter, Mercury, Mars. It's not easy. It is looking back, thinking, going slow. That is how the retrograde works. So keep care of yourself and your professional front or outside front. Lastly, Pisces. Pisces, Mars is getting debilitated. Mars being your Bhagya Lord. It is happening in the 5th house. Rahu is there on the Lagna, and Pisces is there in the, Mercury is there in the 9th house. The trikona is happening in your 159. It is the processing that you have to go through. Father cannot help you. People, Bhagya cannot help you. Your child can be very different now. You can have a lot of, thinking deep, and what actions you need to take about your 5th house matters, name, fame, child, or how to, how you'll process your bhagya, all these things. But this is a very emotional setting that is happening. Rahu giving you ideas, but Mars is not able to execute those ideas very fast as it is thinking. It is in a Cancer, it is taking it, the emotions are conjuring up on Mars, and Mars does not know how to process emotions. Mercury in your 9th house can be a little upsetting. That is not the place for Mercury. It can take away the faith factor from your life, and Rahu is aspecting that Mercury. So you have to keep in the faith. You have to keep in your intelligence steady. Mercury in the Scorpio is that also, keeping the intelligence steady. So that is very important for you now. So it is also your 7th lord going into a Bhagya Dasha. So you can take, this of your partner, doing anything, any journeys can happen with partner, any decisions you want to take, you can do all these things. But main concern is Mars being in the 5th. It makes you sometimes rigid also with your children, with your, daily routine, with your thought process, with your intelligence, because 5th house is a house of intelligence. Mars in the emotional side, the 5th house, can give you very, that intelligence can harm you actually, in a way that you're so fixated on a thing, you're not finding out other ways to solve the problem. So not an easy phase. This is not an easy transit, because you can understand Rahu retrograde on the Lagna itself will bring a lot of changes to the ascendant, that is Pisces. Now Mars goes retrograde in the 5th and Mercury retrograde in the 9th house. So the total Dharma Trikon is having a challenge, and Pisces being a dreamy sign, you can dream long, but where the implementation will happen, that will take some time. And Saturn, is in the 12th house, will slowly move towards your Lagna. It is no way you're running a easy phase. Nobody is at this point of time. Last 2 years of this year is not easy, given the kind of transits we are going through. And Jupiter is retrograde as of now. You are flexible, maybe. Jupiter in the 3rd makes a person flexible, but your mind will not always adjust to, so you have to, you have to do it. You have to take certain actions. Jupiter is aspecting Mercury. That is one better thing. So go with the flow, put in efforts, be a little flexible. Don't let emotionally things hurt you too much, knowing that Mars is in an emotional sign. And so you'll feel, if you feel low, do Hanuman Chalisa. It will be better for you, and you'll get the direction that is needed in your life. So hope you do well by the end of the year, all the signs. The transit is a little bit challenging, no doubt about. I will come up for each individual, maybe in the month of December or late November, the 2025 horoscopes. Till then, let's see what happens next in the transit or what video can be made. Take good care of yourself. This video, I hope it helps you in some way. So, namaskar.